April 1933. You're at home. Dinner is on the table. The radio is talking about the Great Depression, banks collapsing, unemployment everywhere. And then you hear it. A knock on the door. Not from a thief. Not from the mafia. From your own government. But here's the punchline. They don't actually need to knock. Because that same week, in Washington, a man with a cigarette holder and a perfect smile signs a piece of paper. And with one signature, something you've owned for years suddenly becomes a crime. Executive Order 6102. From that moment, hoarding gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates is illegal. You didn't rob anybody. You didn't cheat anybody. You just held on to your own money. And overnight, that makes you a suspect. So let me ask you this. If they could do it once, what exactly stops them from doing it again? Let's slow this down. We're in April 1933. The Great Depression is at full speed. Banks are failing. People are queuing for bread, not for iPhones. The official story? The government needs extraordinary powers to save the system. The real story? The system is saving itself with your gold. Roosevelt signs Executive Order 6102 on April 5th. He gives Americans until May 1st to bring their gold to a bank or a Federal Reserve branch. Less than a month. 26 days to turn in a lifetime of savings. What gold? Gold coins, gold bullion, gold certificates. Anything over $100 worth. At the official rate of $20.67 per ounce, that's about 5 troy ounces. More than that. And you'd better hand it over. And if you didn't, up to 10 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. In 1933, $10,000 was the price of a house. Today, that's roughly $250,000. So think about it. You're a shopkeeper, a doctor, a farmer. Maybe you've got some gold coins your father left you. You've never hurt anyone in your life. And suddenly the choice is, give it up or risk losing your freedom. What do most people do? They comply. We're not talking about a little bit of gold. Americans surrendered over 2,600 metric tons. That's more than 57 million troy ounces. Picture it. Truckloads of metal, moving quietly into vaults owned by the same system that just blamed hoarders for its problems. You walk in with a gold coin. You walk out with paper, $20.67 per ounce. That's the official exchange. You feel protected. You did your duty. You obeyed the law. And then the trick. In 1934, the Gold Reserve Act hits. The government raises the official price of gold to $35 an ounce. Did they call you and say, "Hey, we revalued your gold, let's square you up"? Of course not. They took your gold at 20.67. Then they marked it on their own balance sheet at 35. A devaluation of the dollar. A 40% overnight loss for anyone who held cash. For the government? A beautiful profit. For you? Inflation. They confiscated the metal. Then they confiscated your purchasing power. Legal. Orderly. For the greater good. You don't need a guy with a mask and a gun. You just need a guy with a pen and a narrative. Now, why gold? Why was it so easy to target? Because gold has 3 problems in the modern world. It's heavy. It's visible. It's easy to intercept. You can't hide 50 kilos of gold in your socks. You can't walk through a border with a suitcase full of Krugerrands and expect nobody to notice. Let's do some quick math. You want to move $1 million in gold. At today's prices, that's roughly 15 to 20 kilograms. Try putting that on a plane. You'll have to declare it at the border, pass metal detectors, answer questions from customs, prove source of funds. And even if everything is legal, you're still depending on the mood of an officer and the politics of the week. You think Executive Order 6102 is ancient history? Go through an airport with a lot of gold and tell me how free your asset feels. Gold has one job: store value across time. But in a world of capital controls, CCTV, scanners, and digital borders, it fails the second job: moving that value across space. That's the airport test. You, your asset, a checkpoint. Who wins? With gold, the answer is not you. Now, let's jump to today. No more paper orders nailed to the wall of a bank. Today, confiscation doesn't need soldiers. It needs servers. They don't have to show up at your house. They show up in the database. In 1933, they went for the gold in your hand. In 2026, they go for the assets on your screen. Your gold today is very often not a bar in a vault with your name on it. It's an ETF ticker in your brokerage app. You don't own metal. You own exposure. In the fine print, you're not a secured owner. You're a counterparty, a beneficial interest. Sound familiar? It should. It's the same structure as the stock system we already exposed. Seed and company, DTCC, security entitlements. You don't own shares. You own a claim on a claim. Now apply that to gold. You think you escaped 1933 because you bought paper gold? No, you just volunteered for the sequel, Digital 6102. How does Digital 6102 look? Not like men in hats knocking on your door. No drama, no speeches. It looks like, due to extraordinary market conditions, redemptions are temporarily suspended. Due to sanctions, your account has been frozen pending review. Due to new regulations, we are unable to process this withdrawal. No shouting, no posters, just a polite error message. Come back later. Now ask yourself, in a real crisis, does later actually exist? We've already had a preview. Look at what happened in Canada in 2022. Protests, truckers, and suddenly, bank accounts frozen. Not with a new Executive Order 6102. With a database instruction. Your money doesn't move. The script is the same. Emergency. Extraordinary situation. Temporary measures. But somehow, the emergency never fully goes away. Does it? Let's put this all together. 1933, physical gold. Executive order, police power, threat of prison. 2026 and beyond, digital ETFs, centralized brokers, KYC databases, early-stage CBDCs. Central bank digital currencies are the dream tool for a state that liked Executive Order 6102, but found it logistically annoying. Why send letters when you can send a line of code? Programmable money means funds that expire, funds that only work in certain regions, funds that can't buy unapproved items, funds that can be frozen instantly. Combine that with a financial system where your stocks aren't really yours, security entitlement. Your gold is often not really yours, pooled ETFs. Your cash is just a liability of a bank. And you tell me, do you really need another Roosevelt? Or do you just need the right crisis and the right narrative? Let's go back to that checkpoint. The airport test. You want to move $1 million. Option 1, gold. Option 2, Bitcoin. With gold, we said 15 to 20 kilograms of metal, scanners, declarations, forms, suspicion by default. With Bitcoin, if you're not careless, there is nothing to detect. No bag full of metal, no briefcase full of cash, no document saying, I own this ETF. At the extreme, you don't even need a hardware wallet. You need 12 or 24 words. A seed phrase. You can memorize them, split them, hide them, store them wherever you want. The real vault is no longer under the floor. The real vault is between your ears. Brain wallet versus bank vault. Which one passes the airport test? The metal that screams on the scanner, or the idea that no metal detector can catch? You can stop a bar of gold at the border. You cannot stop a private key that lives in someone's memory. You can nationalize vaults. You can't nationalize human memory. That is the difference between 1933 and the great taking that's being quietly prepared now. In 1933, the government could see your wealth. Soon, if you let them, they'll own every ledger. The only question is any part of your wealth truly outside that system? Let's be clear. Bitcoin is not magic. You can lose it. You can mess up your backup. You can get phished. But that's operational risk. Your mistakes. Gold, stocks, bank deposits, ETFs share a different risk: systemic confiscation. The risk that someone else's mistake or someone else's agenda becomes your loss. With Bitcoin in self-custody, there is no seed and company, there is no broker rehypothecating your coins, there is no temporary freeze while we investigate. There is a key, a network in you. That doesn't make Bitcoin safe. It makes the risk profile honest. You're not outsourcing trust to a system that has already shown, in 1933 and many times after, that when pushed, it chooses itself over you. So let's draw the line. 1933. Gold is money. The state is drowning in debt, crisis, political pressure. Solution? Make private gold ownership illegal. Reprice the metal. Devalue the currency. 2026 and forward. Debt is orders of magnitude higher. Financial assets are digits. The plumbing is centralized. Brokers, clearinghouses, central banks. Gold failed the airport test. Bitcoin doesn't. Gold failed the who controls the vault test. Bitcoin passes if you hold your keys. Gold, in 1933, was still analog in an increasingly digital political world. Bitcoin is native to the digital world that wants to control everything. And precisely for that reason, it's the only asset that can actually slip through. Not because it's invisible, but because it's unforgeable and permissionless at the same time. Could there be a Bitcoin 6102? They can try to regulate, ban, tax, demonize, attack. But they can't walk into every brain on Earth. They can't confiscate what they can't locate. They can only scare you into handing it over voluntarily. Just like 1933. Only this time, you've seen the movie already. Let's finish with one simple image. On one side, 1933. A man stands outside a bank with a small bag of gold coins. He's scared. He walks in. He hands them over. He gets paper. Thinks he's safe. On the other side, 2026. Another man walks through an airport security gate. No bag of gold. No envelope of cash. He has nothing on him except 12 words in his head. The first man trusted the vault. The second man IS'd the vault. So here's the real question. In the age of the great taking, do you want to be the person handing over metal at the counter, or the person whose wealth can cross any border, because the border guards don't even know it exists? 1933 was the rehearsal. The digital system we live in now is the main show. The only upgrade you have is to move at least part of your wealth from assets that exist by permission to an asset that exists by consensus. Gold was the money of 1933. Bitcoin is the money for what comes next. In 1933, the safest place for your wealth was a vault. In the great taking, the safest place might be your own memory. 12 words. Not in a bank. Not in a broker. Not in seed and company. Just in the only place executive orders can't reach. Your mind.